Hey, it's the fourth day of Navaratri, the 9 nights of the goddess, this Hindu holiday that celebrates the power of the goddess to find new ways, to create new pathways, to reestablish our relationship with the world around us, to carve new ways of being, to bring ourselves into the world in new ways, to resource ourselves and find and create and generate new and different ways of being. And she triumphs over a demon of stuckness, the demon inside ourselves and in society that believes that there's only one way of being, that there's only one way of doing things, that this is how it's always been, so that's how it's gonna go. Or, well, what choice do I have? I guess that's what I have to do, because what else am I going to do if not this? We can look at the world and see that. We can see that in the conflict in the Middle East right now. We can see it in the religious fundamentalism also in the Middle East, but also in the US. We can see it in the dogmatic energy in the authoritarians of the world and in the religions of the world. It's the disinterest and lack of desire and disbelief and really not wanting to make something new, to find ways that are going to be more inclusive and caring, for example, of all people. It's not it's the stories that we tell ourselves about the other, of, well, what choice do I have? I have no other choice. And we all have that. We can look at others in the world and see it really, really clearly, but can we look at the places in us where that also shows up? Because from the willingness to look at things through different perspectives, and from the willingness to really look at ourselves deeply, we can start to make new ways of being. And it might begin with simply listening and allowing a perspective that is different than ours to move through us, to move through our ears and into our hearts, even if we don't necessarily agree with it, but to make space for something more, for something else. And the goddess of the day, the goddess of the fourth day, is Kushmanda. And the third day, you can watch the video from yesterday, whether you're finding this on YouTube or on Insta, but you can find the story from yesterday, and that's the story of the goddess finding herself in utter darkness and having the moon helping her to battle these demons, these bat demons that are the demons of the depth of our darkness and our stuckness. And the world, we finish the story when she triumphs over the demons, but the world is still in darkness. And so Kushmanda is the restoration of the world. It's when the goddess of the battlefield, the goddess that destroys these demons, reestablishes her relationship with the world and moves her role from destroyer, from demon slayer, into the restorer of life. Because right now the world is in utter darkness. Right now no one can see anything. Right now the universe is out of balance because there's a lack of radiance and warmth and heat, and therefore a lack of light. It's like the sun turned itself off and no life is able to grow in the world. And so Kushmanda is as a goddess, is an aspect of the goddess, an aspect of Parvati, Durga, Kali, who are all aspects of each other. She's the goddess that restores life. And that's why sometimes this aspect of Durga is associated with Sarasvati, who is the goddess of art and of creativity and of the light that emerges from the darkness and brings order to the world. So sometimes Navaratri, this holiday of 9 nights, is broken down into groups of 3. So it's 3 nights for the aspect of the goddess that are Kali, that are the intensity and the ferocity, the primal and the primordial, the scary and the wildest aspects of ourselves and of the world and of life around us. And then there's 3 nights that are dedicated to the aspect of Durga, that are associated with Saraswati, with the flow of the self, which is what Saraswati translates into, the essence of the self or the flow of the self. And it's the qualities of light emerging and the ability that we have to start to reorganize the world as we reorient ourselves from the depth of struggles with the demonic and into what we now want to make of the world that perhaps has turned into utter darkness, or perhaps is now drowning in the ashes of dissolution. And this is when the goddess becomes the power of creativity and restoration, because creativity is never just on its own, right? Creativity emerges from the dissolution of what was, or creativity is the process of dissolving what is in order to recoalesce and re-establish a new form or new forms. And so Kushmanda is the radiance of the goddess when there's total darkness, so she brings herself into the sky and she becomes the sun. She becomes the power that emanates the sun. She blazes with her great ferocity, and her great ferocity and the fire and the intensity of her being become, she sort of creates or generates a sphere around the radiance of her own body that emanates even greater luminosity all around her. And this sphere, like the body of heat and light, is created around her. And it's created around her from her little smile. So she makes the world with her laughter, the way that we can sometimes, some of the versions of the story of how Parvati creates Ganapati, are that she makes him from the dirt on her skin, and some of the versions of the story are that she creates him from her laughter. She laughs her son into being, and she laughs the sun into existence. She makes life happen through it's almost like her laughter is like ornaments. And even with just a hint of a smile, she can make the universe come back to life. And so she radiates this great light and becomes the body of the luminosity in the solar system. And when she comes out of this body of the sun, she herself is more radiant. She emanates this golden luminosity, and then the sun stays in the sky, and order is being brought back to life. And it's her radiance and the heat of the sun that creates the possibility of life, that allows plants to grow. So Kushmanda is associated with vegetation, with a life force on earth, and the ability of plants to grow and to become. And she is said to walk along the earth, and then plants come into being, into life. And her name, Anda, is a word for egg, a cosmic egg. So she is the egg of all creation. She is that origin of life that must, this is so important, that must break, must be fertilized. There has to be penetration, right? There has to be something that moves in and creates and enters and changes things, and then the egg must break in order to become life, right? In order for life to come out of it, in order for the generative power of life itself to bring itself into existence and into expression. So Kushmanda is the power of life as the egg, as the origin, and the power of life that must break. So see how in the creation there is the solution. And this is such a great reminder for all of us, because I don't know about you, but this is a hard time right now in the world. There's war, and there's the threat of authoritarianism, and in some places there is already dictators kind of taking over, and there's so much hatred. And when we remember that breaking, that dissolution, that destruction are the key for creation, then we can move through these hard times, these Durga times, these difficult moments with a sense of hope, because through the process of breaking, we can make something new. And it's perhaps even the pain that we experience, and the sadness and the grief and the rage and the anger and all the feelings that we feel when we look at how messed up the world is, that allow us to then perhaps make new connections and find new ways and create and make new ways, because it's the pain that actually helps us turn toward one another, turn toward our own resourcefulness, turn toward the resourcefulness that exists in our relationship and in our connection. And this is precisely why I created Bond with Your Life, because this course, the 6 week journey with deep practices and symbolism and mythology, and a well-rounded journey that takes us through different aspects of ourselves, and is really it's really created. I made it as a resource for deeper connection that we can create through these practices and stories within ourselves and with one another. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and head over to mamamandala.com and check it out. There's going to be a link in the description of the video if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the bio if you're watching this on Instagram. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss. I'm happy to help you out, help you make it happen if you're interested in it. And it's going to be a deep, transformative, and empowering journey to develop greater confidence through wavering and questioning, to cultivate our own strength, to gather ourselves, to connect to our center, to allow our wisdom to pour through, and to keep generating more of it. And it is going to be a profound journey that I really hope to go on with you. So check it out on Mama Mandala. It's called Bond with Your Life. And let's chant and do a little mudra. So Kushmanda, this goddess of today, she has 8 arms, which is another one of the expressions of her changing the paradigm and breaking the status quo, because in the status quo of gods, there's going to be 2 arms or 4 arms, but she has 8 or sometimes 10, because she breaks the pattern and defines life in new ways, and through the struggles creates the capacity to orient ourselves into new possibilities. And so she has 8 arms, and in each of the hands she holds different things. She has a trident, again, that's the symbol that's going to go with Durga because she's a threefold goddess. She's a maiden and a mother and a crone. She is Kali and she is Saraswati and she is Lakshmi. She is the past and the present and the future. She is the way that we are aware or unaware or in this space of imagination. She's all the different threefolds. She's waking, dreaming, and dreamlessness. She's all the ways that we are a threefold and therefore a manyfold reality and existence. And she holds the lotus in another hand, which is of course reminding us that that for beauty to grow we must also anchor and root in the mud. And she holds a pot of water, which is the womb of the universe, and also the capacity for creating life, because without water life wouldn't exist. And she has other different weapons, which are of course not weapons for destruction necessarily per se with violence, but the weapons in the iconography of Hindu mythology and symbolism are representations of powers, of our own powers. She has a goad, which is to poke us when we're a little too comfortable, or when we're stuck, or when we don't want to try something new, or when we're kind of like becoming a little bit like the demon, right? Like too certain. She pokes us with a goad. And that's also one of the symbols of Ganesha, of her kiddo, because the goad in the temples in India is the old way of poking the elephant to make it move, which is of course sad and has a great shadow in it, because all the stories and all the aspects of those gods, goddesses, and symbols, it's going to have a shadow, right? All cultures, all traditions have great shadows in them. And one of her hand is always in Abhaya mudra. And this is the mudra of fearlessness. And of course, fearlessness is not to not have fear, but it's to stand in the midline, in the liminal space between our fears and our courage. And courage is our ability to stand up and face our fears. So it's our ability to say, you know what, I'm really afraid, but I'm going to go for it anyway. It's really scary to try to create peace in the Middle East. I am very passionate about it because I am from there. So for me, this is deeply important. It's very scary to turn toward those who you've been told are the enemy, those who have harmed you, those who have hurt you, to turn toward them and to say, you know what? You are the one I have to make peace with. And it takes a lot of courage to do that inside ourselves. And it takes a lot of courage to turn toward that which is the embodiment of what you're afraid of, and to say, you know what? Abhaya mudra looks like stop, but it actually means come in. Right? It's a welcoming. It looks like it's stopping you, but it's actually welcoming you. It's welcoming you into the depth of the heart. And Kushmanda is the goddess that resides in the heart. She's the egg of the heart. She's the radiance of the heart. So Abhaya mudra, and you can allow your attention to move into your breath. You can place one hand over your heart, whichever feels good for you. I'm going to try it both ways. Ooh, that feels better. So for me, left hand on my heart and right hand in Abhaya feels really nice. And you can allow the breath to deepen, and if there's like a little sigh that wants to move through you, you may let it. Allow your attention to ride the waves of the breath the way that Kushmanda rides the tiger, which is the ride of Kali. The orange color of the tiger is the orange color of the sun as it rises or as it sets. The black stripes on the tiger is the darkness of the universe that holds and wraps around celestial bodies that illuminate the sky. It's the dark matter that is Kali. It's the womb that wraps around all of existence. Deep, slow breath. We turn toward our own ferocity with courage. It's not easy to meet our own intensity. We might want to run away from it, but we turn toward it because we are ready to face our fears. And we might not feel ready, but we are willing to begin to take some steps. Because if we don't start today, we're never going to start. Deep, slow breaths. And you can chant the mantra with me. There is something very powerful about bringing your own voice into the conversation. But if you prefer to just let it wash over you from the outside in, that's totally okay too. Whatever works for you works for the universe. And the mantra is Om Devi Kushmandaye Namaha. 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 As we turn toward our own intensity, we discover, we see that our intensity can become the source of our creativity, just like the universe. That the blazing heat of the ball of fire that is the sun is that which creates the possibility of life on earth. That the Big Bang of the universe is that which keeps banging us into existence. And so our own intensity and our own heat and the heat of struggle that we may burn in is also the soil of the possibilities of what we can create in this life. And so we bring Abhaya Mudra and join it with the other hand, with both hands joining together in Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. We become the offering, the radiance of our own being from the depth of the blazing heat of the universe within us, as us, around us, and we turn ourselves into an offering, into something that brings value and adds meaning to the world. Thank you so, so much for joining me. I hope this is in some ways valuable, helpful, interesting for you, and that you can take that into your life in one way or another. And I really hope that you can join me for Bond with Your Life, for this 6-week journey with the bandhas, this great, powerful set of practices that help regulate the nervous system and bring us into conversation with our mental, emotional health and well-being, so that we can become a powerful and helpful presence in the world for ourselves and more than ourselves. Thank you so, so much. Check out the information on mamamandala.com, and I hope to see you there, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Mwah. Namaste.